Hey, welcome to Breaking Bread, hosted by me, Crunk Chocolate, a show where we break verbal bread with a quote unquote enemy. Whenever Manchester City has an upcoming match, I will be here having a conversation with a supporter of City's upcoming opponent. Shout out to everybody, Dirty Glasses. Shout out to everybody on Patreon who will be enjoying this full episode for $3 or $6. You get this episode in full ad free from all of our other episodes if you watch anywhere else outside of Patreon. And you get discounts to our merch store. Um, we'll be talking more and more about our Kansas City meetup event later this year. You'll also get first dibs to anything going on there and all of that as well. It's $6 a month. You get a little bit more content, interviews, some new things that are coming from 2026. But for $3 a month, you can help a podcast and still get some amazing free content. Rate, review, 5 stars, comments, all of those other things. Such a good episode for you today. FA Cup. City have played a few League One teams over the years thanks to the FA Cup. Notts County, Port Vale, Swindon Town, Cheltenham Town, Tranmere Rovers, and then even if you look at some of the clubs that sit in League One right now, we played Plymouth Argyle last year, Leyton Orient as well. So we are familiar with these types of teams. We know how difficult they can make things for us. Luton Town, it's good to see that they are nothing but failure. For some reason, it happened before I was born, but there's a Man City versus Luton Town match where Luton Town scored, relegated Man City. Their owner did a little dance on Main Road. There's been like a very soft rivalry ever since because obviously two teams, two different trajectories. But I have decided to hold on to that hate. So anytime I hear Luton Town, I just want to hate on them. That's a little known fact about me, Daniel, before we get going. To welcome on and learn all about Exeter City for the first time. Very excited to chat with our guest today, Shady Game. Please give it up for Daniel Clark. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad here. All good at the moment. And then, as you say, this will be the first time that Manchester City and Exeter City have ever played in their history. So, a first time for everything.
Yes, and I enjoy that. You do tend to talk to the same people, especially when you've just been in a league. It doesn't really matter, whatever league, whatever you've been in a certain league for so many times. Whenever we can venture out, and that's what I love about the Champions League. I am connected with somebody to talk about the team in Turkey, like same thing. Like it's just gives me a chance. My little Midwest room for me to like get out and connect with people around the world over a sport where people pickleball. I like appreciate and love being able to have these experiences. But let's start off first with something a little light and fun, possibly. I mean, it's wherever you take it. What is something that is overrated and underrated about football? We're going to start off with what is overrated. Let's get some hot takes out of the way.
Okay, so this I suspect is going to be slightly controversial, and particularly given this thing. But I think something that I've got down on my overrated list is the concept of FA Cup replays. And I don't, because it's particularly as a fans of a lower league club, FA Cup replays are kind of when you get them against the big clubs, they're massive. Obviously, when it was sort of 20 odd years ago, when Exeter had Manchester United, they got the draw at Old Trafford and had the FA Cup replay back down at St James's Park. I mean, that was a fantastic FA Cup replay, a fantastic occasion. But most of the FA Cup replays are definitely not that. I mean, we've had some kind of pretty terrible FA Cup replays. I think we had Walsall in one. We had to get Hartlepool on a Tuesday night in December. Kind of that. I mean, it turned out to be a pretty thrilling game, but Forest Green in the second round, and it's one of those that it's just a game that a lot of peak clubs can kind of do without. You can sort not just with kind of the fixture congestion, but also it's that kind of thing that fans, they don't turn up. You look at the attendances; they're just they're not there for FA Cup replays and stuff. So it's not necessarily while it's on one hand it's a sad thing that they've gone. You don't get the chance to sort of hold a team and take them back. This one, it would be fantastic. To get Manchester City to draw and come back down to St James's Park for a replay. On the other hand, I don't think in the previous round, obviously we beat Wickham, but I don't think anybody would have wanted to go to Wickham on a cold Tuesday night. When there's already a lot of games in the schedule to play a replay. So I'm kind of the nostalgia around sort of FA Cup replays and why it's kind of such a sad thing that they've disappeared. I just don't fully get on board with, and kind of there's been it's kind of something's got to give. It's probably the right thing to give at this stage.
Yeah, I'm with you because, like, imagine if uh, Exeter City hold Man City to a draw, and now they have to go. Now City has to travel to Exeter, and that would in itself would be insane. I mean, it's I know every like clubs in the Championship, League One, and stuff like that. This is a chance to go to the Etihad, so that's a fun thing in itself to watch your team play because that normally wouldn't happen. I get that, but also the other way around. I loved before the replays were ended, but when such situations like this would happen, where there would be like a Premier League team or a Championship team, and then they have to go to like a League Two, League Three for a replay, and like the difference in locker rooms and stuff like that. And obviously, it kind of shows the separation of wealth in football, which isn't great, but the having to adjust to another, like, it's that home field advantage idea where it's like, now you're in our home, let's see how great you can play in these expensive boots and these nice physios and stuff like that. Come over here where you have to share this little closet room as a locker room.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. I mean, it's a replay between Exeter City and Manchester City. That's good. That would be fantastic. Just some of the other games, that across the Southwest Cup you got this weekend. There's another game, Bristol City against Watford. I can guarantee you that our Bristol City reporter is delighted. There's no FA Cup replays, and not having the possibility of having to then go to Watford on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night. It's
Nobody
that
wants
kind
that.
of those kind of games between clubs in the same divisions. They're the ones that kind of, it's probably not a bad thing that they've gone, and they tended to be the majority of the ones that there was. And I know this is kind of an unpopular thing to say as a fan of a lower league club where FA Cup replays are quite vital, but I don't necessarily seem that it's not the end of the world that they've gone. And you kind of got a better chance in extra time and penalties
Mm-hmm.
of winning than you might
Absolutely.
do in a having to the second time round, full 90 minutes. That's you might get lucky once, you probably don't get lucky twice.
Well, especially because like those lower league teams, if they end up replaying another club, that's an extra game, like you said, in your schedule that you're not really used to playing. You're not used to actually playing like two, three games in a week as opposed to one every 7 days. It now becomes you have a game on a Saturday, then you have one on a Tuesday, Wednesday, then you have another one on a Saturday, Sunday, and that little extra bit of running, especially with another club, especially depending on how they play, it could be like really physical. The game could be really open and a lot of running. It just tires you out. And in the Championship, League One, League Two, where these games are brutal, there are a lot of games. Every minute not played makes a big deal. No, that's a very solid overrated. What do you got for
Yeah.
underrated?
I was trying to think what would I actually sort of go for this one, and sort of a few things that sort of just sort of seeing on socials over the weekend, and I suppose it's a bit sort of vague, but modern football is quite good, and that tends to kind of sort of feels there's a growing sense that there's a lot of things people don't like about modern football and hark back to sort of nostalgic times when which is almost always when they were growing up, kind of thing. But if you actually look at the quality of the game this day, even going back, I don't know, you go back 10, 15 years, what looked like what was a top quality Premier League game at that time, it just it just doesn't quite doesn't you don't remember it doesn't you remember it being a lot better than it kind of sometimes was, and you just sort of have a lot of games where it's people charging after each other, or sort of it becomes a basketball game rather than it might have been more exciting, but I think the actual overall quality in a lot of games is a lot higher now than it would have was sort of 15, 20 years ago. So there's a lot more sort of sports science, nutrition.